Good afternoon, everybody. We'll call the meeting to order, and welcome everyone. I see we've got all kinds of good-looking faces here today in the audience. We're not used to that, are we, Council? Right? Yeah. Well.
What are you saying?
Well, some of them. This is the first time that some of them actually work for us. It's a pretty good deal. Welcome everybody. And good afternoon. We'll call the meeting to order. This, of course, the public meeting for July 9th, 2013. I believe that everybody should have a copy of the agenda in front of them. I will accept the motion on the agenda as presented, moved by Councillor Aker. It is seconded by Councillor Walsh. Any additions to the agenda, again, for the meeting of July 9th that have not been added up to now? I don't have anybody here I don't have any additions at the moment. Anybody else with any? Hearing not, I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Move on then to the agenda items, beginning first with the minutes of an action report of the public meeting of June 25th. You have the minutes in front of you. I will entertain a motion to accept them as presented. Moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Ledwell, that the minutes be accepted as they are presented. Before we do, any errors or omissions to be identified? Any errors or omissions to be identified? Hearing none. All those in favor? Contrary-minded, motion is carried. Any business arising, again, from the public meeting of June 24th, please refer to the agenda number for each item as listed if there is any. Business arising from the meeting of June 25th. Going once. Twice. My God, we got no business arising. How cool is this getting? Okay, is there any possibility at all summer has anything to do with this? We shouldn't bring it up. No business arising. We will then move on here on the agenda. Council, the next thing would be proclamations and presentations. And today, while we don't have a proclamation as such, we do have a presentation that we're going to want to make. We want to present some people to Council who are here in the chamber with us today. And I'm going to look to our Chair of Planning and Land Use, Councillor Aker, if you would do us the honor. Tell us who all of these very nice-looking young people really are.
Yes, indeed, and I might also add they're led by another young fellow over there, Mr. Don Kelly, who's the coordinator with the Green Team. He works.
What's the last time we used Don Kelly and the word young in the same sentence before now?
Hey, his words, not mine. Anyway, welcome everybody, and yes, as Chair of Planning, Your Worship and Council, I'm very pleased to introduce our two Green Teams who will be operating in the City of Mount Pearl for the 2013 season. We have the City Team, and that's made up of Sarah Sellers, Ian McIntyre, Evan Dix, and Emily Pye. Welcome everybody. And as well, the City is pleased to be hosting the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce team here at City Hall this summer. And the Chamber's team is Julie Dwyer, Anna Collis. Is it Collis or Collis? Collis, thank you, and Zach Tilley. And before I go too much further into this, I'd like to explain how far we've come in the last 2 years. This initiative started in 2011, where we launched two initiatives: the Waterford River Cleanup Blitz, as well as the hosting of the Green Teams. That happened the first year, 2011. The Green Team was here for July and August. It was dedicated to the Mount Pearl portion of the Waterford River, cleaned up a lot of the river garbage and debris, and undertook several environmental awareness initiatives. And in 2012, we were again successful in building onto our Waterford River Stewardship Program. Council may recall that a lot of this was hatched in some conversation with some residents on Forest Avenue who were experiencing flooding, and attributed some of it to all the debris that was in the river. I'm not sure. We'll find out this September whether this is all paid off, but the river certainly is looking a lot cleaner than what it was. In that year too, 2011, we also introduced the Waterford River Cleanup Blitz. This year, the third year, we had over 160 volunteers, including residents, business owners, community groups, city staff, and of course members of council. So this is our third year in getting a Green Team, and this is all funded, by the way, through the Conservation Corps of Newfoundland and Labrador. And I'd like to introduce Ms. Karina Crocker, who's here tonight, and she is the chair of the Conservation Corps of Newfoundland and Labrador. Good to see you, Karina. This year's project will continue the physical cleanup of the river, including known hotspots for littering along the main stem of the river, as well as the tributaries for the river and the wetlands and open spaces associated with those areas. The team's reach will be expanding to reach out to the Mount Pearl business community, because we're not just about cleaning up the river, it's also about trying to foster some education, some awareness in an effort in the longer run to reduce litter in the lake, right? As you all are aware, the main branch of the river, its tributaries, and its associated wetlands are the backbones of our city's walkway and open space systems and are treasured by all. As also mentioned, Council is excited that we'll be home to 2 green teams this year, the second of which is sponsored by the Mount Pearl Paradise Chamber of Commerce. We had invited the president of the Chamber of Commerce to be here today, Deborah Feltham. She has another event on the go. She couldn't make, but she does send her regrets. I believe, Your Worship, you introduced, along with Deborah, the green team to staff in the last few days. Probably the day
More
we
like staff
started.
introduced them to us, but
Okay.
yes, we were there and encouraged and gave a rah
Good stuff.
welcome to them.
Hopefully we won't let them down here now. This team is going to engage the corporate community in the development of a citywide waste management reduction plan. Basically, they're going to be working with the business community targeting litter, because we do have a litter problem that's not just around the Waterford River. I think it's throughout the community, primarily focused with in the business areas. Not necessarily always the fault of the business owners, but this, I guess you could argue, this is where the supply of the litter comes. It's people's habits who put the litter out onto the street and into the walkways and into our nice trailways and the like, right? So they're going to engage the corporate community. They're going to speak to the business owners and operators to determine their needs and expectations. They're going to come up with developing a plan with the business owners to address the cleanup of waste and establish new recycling efforts in terms of paper, cardboard, fiber, plastic, and organics. Businesses will play a key role, and they always do, in protecting our environment and to help ensure a cleaner and more sustainable future by making small, simple changes to the way we conduct our daily business. So what I'd like to do now, with the blessing of council, is invite Karina to come up and basically talk about the Conservation Corps. And following Karina, if we could have Ian and Julie come up. They're the team leaders of their teams, and just talk about what they got planned for the summer. And I'd like to invite Karina to come up. And why don't we invite Julie and Ian to come up at the same time, and you can all chat then. Your Worship, the microphone's there.
I think this is dead.
Come on up, guys.
The green team, where's green? How good is that?
We have to promote ourselves. So thank you for having us here today, Mayor Sims and Council. On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff of the Conservation Corps, Newfoundland and Labrador, I would like to thank the City of Mount Pearl for recognizing our fabulous Mount Pearl green teams that are here with us today. Thank you to the City and the Chamber for being excellent partners who are committed and engaged on these projects, and as a result, this translates into a much greater experience for our young workers. Our green teams recognize the importance and value of the projects they are working on when partners, such as you, demonstrate great leadership in providing this special recognition. Through the years, over 2,200 young people have gained meaningful work experience in the areas of cultural heritage and environmental conservation through the Green Team program. I would like to extend a huge thank you to the Provincial Department of Advanced Education and Skills, who have provided funding contributions of almost $598,000, making it possible for us to partner with organizations such as yours. Finally, I would like to thank the teams for their hard work at training camp and on the project site, and wish them and our partners every success on their project this summer. Thanks.
Thank you, Karina, very much. I'm going to invite these two to go behind me here. We only got the one microphone today. Things didn't work out quite as well. Now, introduce yourselves to everybody again. And get up close.
I'm Ian McIntyre, team leader for the Mount Pearl Waterford River Cleanup Crew.
I'm Julie. I'm the team leader for the Chamber of Commerce team that's working with the corporate community.
Our project is more involved with the physical cleanup of the Waterford River. First day, Don showed us around the city and showed us some of the hot spots where most of the debris has built up, and so we've been going around we've been starting with those areas, and we've been working our way around. And we're also planning on doing a few environmental awareness events with the Mount Pearl City Days coming up, and also with day camps for children.
Our project is a little bit different. We've split the city kind of into three areas. The first one is the Pearl Gate Shopping Center. The second one, Donovan's Industrial Park, and the third is like the center, like kind of around City Hall here. So we've contacted, as of now, every business in Pearl Gate Shopping area. We've had some sort of communication with them. Half of them have scheduled meetings with us. They've been super receptive. A lot of them want to get involved. They recognize that litter is a problem. We only started emailing Donovan's today, so it's hard to say, but we've gotten some good replies and stuff. So it should be a good summer. We're working with them with the city days and the camps. So.
And you just started?
Yeah, we just.
Yeah, really, Council, they only just got underway about a week ago. So it's already started. This is a very interesting challenge. I want you to be aware of something which I didn't say when we, I think Councillor Ledwall and I were there actually, and to bring you greetings, is that there's an organization out there called the UMC, which is the Urban Municipalities Group. There are 20 of the largest municipalities in the province that have representation on it. Deputy Mayor Locke is actually going to be attending a meeting of that group in August, around the 17th of August. And all of you need to be aware that there are 19 others kind of looking at us. Our challenge that we've thrown out, because we always have a tendency to go over the top, is we don't just want a clean urban river. We want the cleanest urban river in the world. No small task. We want to be the municipality that solves the commercial litter problem. Wow, what a challenge. We've got about 19 of our partners in municipal government going to be looking at you guys to see what kind of solutions you come up with, what kind of work you get done. And we're looking to you guys to come up with the kind of solutions that we're going to be able to adopt. We're not really concerned too much about anything other than this, right? Young people engaged with the community, enthusiastically working on a problem and providing solutions. I think it's absolutely tremendous. The government deserves all compliments and kudos for this. Corinna, your organization certainly. A pat on the back, kudos from us. We know that this group of young people, we've had green teams in the past. I think it's fair to say our experience has always been wonderful. I'm anticipating that it will be the same this year. Thank you, guys. And now we're going to say this because I love it. Go back to work. Everybody go to work. Everybody, welcome to the green teams. You want a picture of all the green teams? Okay, guys, everybody got to come up here again. Apparently you're not going back to work. Okay, we're going to take a picture. Can I stand up here and be the tallest? Just for one. I still won't be the tallest. All right, we'll get that. Let you and I get that. Let's put all of you guys on. I don't think of that. I know. That's why I asked. Cuddle up, guys. Smile at you here. No flash, no nothing. Julie, good job. Thanks, guys. Thank you guys very much, guys. Thanks very much. Anyone, anybody with a comment or a question or anything for any of the group? Now is your opportunity. If not, we're going to let them go. You do not have to suffer through this meeting, okay?
Thanks, guys. Thanks, you guys. Thank you.
We should change that one day, and we should be encouraging people to stay for the exciting, dramatic meeting.
Presentations at the end.
Yeah, we would be selling them a false bill of goods, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Council, I'm going to seek your leave today to alter the agenda now. We do have some people here with a matter that's coming before council, and usually our Planning and Land Use Committee happens close to the very end. So with the permission of council and with leave, I'm going to ask that we move the Planning and Land Use Development Committee report forward early so that these matters can be addressed with. And if everybody is in agreement with that, I'm going to invite Councillor Aker, if you would, to take the floor for the first committee report of the day, Planning and Land Use. Councillor Aker.
Thank you again, Your Worship. Council, the first item on the Planning and Land Use Committee report today is the proposed amendment related to Pearlview Subdivision Development Phase 6. There has been a request for rezoning from RSU 3 to RMD. Basically, that's from residential single units, which does not allow apartments, to residential medium density, which would. And the reason I use the word apartments is that will become one of the main issues we'll be debating or discussing in a few minutes, right? As this was a rezoning, we went through a public consultation process whereby we notified the residents via the telegram, those in the neighborhood. We posted on the city's website, and we also had a briefing session on this matter, which was well attended, I might add, on June 4th, 2013, and we've received quite a bit of supplementary feedback that's come in by other means since. The committee has met on this on a couple of occasions. We've even had a chat with the developer to talk about our progress with regards to the issue. In terms of the briefing session and the feedback received from residents, there's a summary here in your kit. I'll highlight most of them. Residents have expressed a concern about the increase in the number of rental properties and associated lower maintenance standards, concerns about traffic, concerns about not having enough parking stalls, concerns about population density, as well as increase in crime. I'm not sure about that one. Concern about availability of green space in the area. Questions were asked about the rezoning and how it affects property values. Questions were mentioned about changes in municipal services, would any be required. Current property owners bought their house knowing that the zoning was going to be RSU 3 and that they felt that it was unfair to change to RMD in midstream. And there was also some concerns about garbage blowing in the area. We also met with the developer post-briefing session to have a chat about where we were with it. The developer is a very reputable Mount Pearl company, has a very long-term history in development, and basically would like to, as I understand it, would like to use the RMD zoning to help better with their marketing effort. They feel that's the way the market is headed. It's much easier today now to afford a slightly larger house with a basement apartment, helping pay some of the mortgage payment, as opposed to just a single-family dwelling, and I guess basically relying on your own salary or other income to pay for the mortgage. When it went through committee, it was noted by the department that the typical 30% rate of basement apartments that you see in the city of Mount Pearl is not evident in this particular part of Mount Pearl. Typically, we have 67%. So it's a very dense neighborhood in the first place. The residents who live in the area came out and they've been telling us on the density issue alone, they bought into a neighborhood which was zoned as RSU 3, and that to go to a rezoning of RMD would only invite more basement apartments and higher density, and then all the issues associated with that into that neighborhood. So we have 67% already, and essentially some of the, I guess you could say some of the newer residents, because the area near the top of the hill, near Phase 6, and including Phase 5, I guess, a lot of them are fairly new houses. You know, Phase 1, Phase 2, it all sequenced its way up, right?
So is it 67% of with subsidiary apartments right now?
Yep, in the general neighborhood. The residents basically are asking us that, look, we bought into these houses under RSU 3. We were told that the neighboring houses and properties would also be RSU 3 and not RMD, so switching course in midstream they feel is unfair. We've met about this in committee, and the recommendation is we refuse. We refuse basically the application. The committee has supported the view of the residents and that it would be unfair to abutting lot owners who purchased the lot space in RSU 3 to rezone this portion of the land, and I so move.
Moved, seconded by Councillor Ledwell. Questions or comments from other members of council? Councillor Walsh.
Yes, this was a kind of a difficult issue for council to deal with. We know the developer fairly well because they've been doing business in Mount Pearl a long time. The heads are here today, and just want to say to them, and I know I echo the sentiments of the entire council, that we'd love to be able to to really go along with the decision to market the houses differently and to promote the area, particularly with sales. I mean, we're not into the marketing or the real estate business at all. These people are developers and very good, reputable developers, as Councillor Raker has said. The problem is there's probably not one of the arguments, not a single argument, that on its own merit would warrant turning down the development. But I think if you look at the combination of the different arguments, and you look at the number of people who came out to the public hearing, and the number of representations that we had from council, look, when it comes to public consultation, we take our lead from the people who are most affected by these decisions. And the people who are most affected by these decisions did not want to change. And I think the argument that you so correctly put, Councillor Aker, is that they did not want to change in midstream. And they bought into what we'll say is a bag of goods, and probably the single largest investment that people make is in their homes. And they didn't want to change that, change the rules of the game halfway through. So based on that, if nobody had come out, by the way, this probably would have gone through uncontested. But we take our lead from the people who are most affected by the decision. So as difficult as it is, sometimes we have to be guided. In fact, I think we should be guided by the will of the people. And the people who are most affected by this, in this particular case, have spoken loud and clear. So on the basis of that, I think all members of council basically support the recommendation put forth by planning. It was looked at very carefully at the staff level, at the professional level, at the political level, at the practical level, at the builder level, at the real estate level. It's really difficult to come to any other conclusion. And so I support the recommendation of council. And I know that the heads and the people who are involved in the development will be disappointed in that. But I think it's the only outcome that we could actually conclude after having gone through the public consultation process.
Councillor Stiles.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I certainly agree with everything Councillor Walsh had said. The only thing I wanted to say was that if there was nothing there and there was no homes or nothing being there and they came in with this proposal, I probably would have supported because there is such a need for families and a cheaper way for them to buy a home when they have an apartment. So I certainly support that concept and that. But when you have a neighbourhood, over half finished and you only have a small portion left, and the residents bought into something, and the change in midstream is a big concern for me. And I've met with the residents up there, and they certainly had major concerns with it. And as Councillor Walsh stated, I will be supporting the motion.
Any other comments from any other members of council? Any other comments? Okay, you may close debate. Councillor Aker.
Change is never good. We often deal with these issues at the council table all the time. Change
Sometimes
is very
good, but it's never
difficult.
easy.
It's never easy, true enough. But in this case, I think change came too quickly. It's not like a redevelopment of the neighborhood that's been there for 50 years. It's not like redeveloping, for example, the Park Avenue property where we had a school for years. That change came very, very, very slowly. This change, unfortunately, I think came too quick. The neighbors have spoken, and as Councillor Walsh so properly put, we represent the residents here at this table, and I think they've spoken pretty loud and clear. And I'll ask your worship if you could call the motion, please.
Thank you. The motion is that the Planning and Land Use Development Committee are recommending that the application for rezoning of Pearlview Phase 6 from RSU 3 to RMD be refused. It is moved and seconded. All those in favor signify. Contrary minded. Motion is carried.
Next item is the acquisition of property related to the Team Issue Recplex area. We need some backland to be acquired for the city. This may be used down the road for access and egress related to the what's become a very, very intense site. There's a lot of recreational activity happening between the skate park, the baseball field, the softball field, the soccer fields. I believe there are 3 down there. And we've also got the indoor facility where which used to be the old Smallwood Arena. We did a search of the property. It's in the title of one of the neighbors there. We went through a process determining the value. Basically, offers were made, and eventually through negotiations an offer of $15,000 was accepted. It's in our budget for $10,000. I'm not really sure if $5,000 is going to make or break the city, but this seems to have been arrived at in an open process. Both sides are happy with this transaction, and I'd like to move that we acquire this property.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment? All those in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
I just want to bring to Council's attention that the National Building Code has been updated. This happens on a regular basis. This one here is a significant upgrade or change, I should say, to the building code, and has to do with energy conservation. This was brought to our attention by Municipal Affairs, and though it came into effect. I think it was on May 10th. It was launched. The Municipal Government Carbon Calculator Initiative was launched at the Municipal Symposium on May 10th, 2003, and that's a calculator for municipalities to quantify greenhouse gas emissions, learning how to reduce their carbon footprint, and reduce operating costs through further reducing their footprint. So government, through their, what do they call it, their Turn Back the Tide initiative, is piggybacking on the National Building Code. Will be encouraging municipalities to, well, I guess we have no choice in the City of Mount Pearl to adopt the National Building Code. Staff are currently assessing the impact on building regulations, but essentially any new house built in the city after the code came into effect, will have to be a greener facility, just like many of our other new facilities like the Glacier and the Multiplex. And I just wanted to bring that there for the information of council. You see it in your kit, and there's a website there, turnbackthetide.ca, what's new, for further information.
Thank
And
you.
the final thing in the planning report is the development permits. For June 25th to July 5th, 2013, permits 34 through 40 are listed there, and I'd like to move.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Now, for the period June 22nd to July 5th, we have building permits for residential, 806,650, and for the same period, we have commercial building permits of 1,873,500, and I'd like to move both.
Moved, seconded. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Councillor Aker. We will now move to the top of the agenda, Public Works Committee. Councillor Walsh, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Just another update again regarding our activities in Public Works, and then something that you don't have. I'm going to give you a little update as well from the Bay Bulls Big Pond water level report that we just received moments before the meeting began. First of all, Your Worship, during the course of the winter especially, we have quite a number of lawns that have damage as a result of snow clearing operations and the like. We're in the process of seeding areas and also patching areas and generally carrying out lawn repairs throughout the city and trying to provide a good level of oversight for those areas that need work. Asphalt and curb repairs continue. We have identified areas and streets that need repair, and of course we will, in addition to that, have the ongoing repair of major capital, street resurfacing later on in the summer and early fall. The second bulk garbage.
Before you move on, I got a question, a comment on something you just mentioned.
A question? Sure, go ahead.
Question. Well, I just wanted, you mentioned that curb repair and lawn repair. A lot of people sometimes don't know about lawn repairs and don't put them in. They normally do it themselves because only a few sads. But I contacted Mr. Antle today, and at our meeting 2 weeks ago, tomorrow up at engineering, I mentioned about a lady on Barbara Drive, 23 Barbara Drive, with her curve. She's ruined one tire, and I'm just wondering if in cases like this, when there's major damage done, because I went today and took the pictures, because she called me again today and said she hasn't seen anybody up there or anything, and I'm sure our crew was up because I've seen trucks on the road all the time. I'm just wondering, because she's worried again about she can't get in and out of her driveway, is that bad in this specific thing? I'm wondering if we can have a crew up there sooner rather than later to look after that. That's all.
Yes, we'll have the crews have a look at that as soon as we possibly can. We have a number of areas in the city that we're addressing with curb repairs actively right now. So there is a list that we have, but we'll put that on a priority inspection to see if it requires additional work sooner than later.
Perfect, thank you.
Councillor Walsh?
Yep, thank you very much. And anytime,
Let's make an effort not to do those kind of interruptions if there's another way to do it outside of the committee report, which we probably could have done with that one, but that's okay. It's good. Carry on.
no problem. And any time that people have an issue with that, the public can feel free to call the Public Works Department or and talk to Wanda normally.
We even give Jerry Andal's number to people.
We don't give Jerry's number, but we do give Wanda's number, and we try to do that. The last thing I want to mention, Your Worship, the last time we had bulk garbage, there was a little bit of an issue in terms of what we were taking, what we were refusing. I have to say that this time we're a couple of weeks into the second round of bulk garbage collection, and things are going very, very smoothly. One proviso, of course, and it's an obvious one, is there's rarely not as much out for bulk the second time round, and perhaps again the third time you'll have people cleaning out prior to the winter, but the second one is the least amount of volume. So things are going well. We did, as you recall, we tried to apply a slightly different standard at the beginning of the last collection, which created some grief for some people and some members of council as well. And we've adjusted the course, and I think as a result, we haven't had a single complaint from this second round of collection so far. So hopefully things will continue in that vein. The only other thing I want to mention, Your Worship, and this is very, very important this time of year, is the ongoing water conservation. The message here, of course, is to use water wisely, especially if this weather, this beautiful summer, sunny weather, continues. Just to let you know where we are, the pond at Bay Bulls is currently at 32 feet. To put that in some sort of perspective for you, that's about 2 feet lower than it was this time last year and the year before. And in both those years, at this time, they were approximately 34 feet. The good news is it's 10 feet higher than it was the last time we had an outright water ban, which was in 2009. So with a continued conservation and continued support and cooperation of people, there's every likelihood that we'll avoid anything other than an ongoing water conservation order for this year. So things are looking reasonably good. We had, in fact, a slight increase, and then I guess with some of the warmer temperatures the last week or so, a slight decrease of about half a foot or so. So we're in good shape, but let's not be careless. It's important that we continue to conserve and make sure that these pond levels remain at a healthy level so that we can avoid the grief of any further action down the road. That's it for me. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh, very much. Community Services Committee, Deputy Mayor Locke.
I'll try again.
I've got... that's why I called on you. All right. Councillor Tessier.
Thank you. Easily mistaken for Deputy Mayor Locke. It happens all the time. All the time.
Well, do forgive me, but the person who chaired the committee usually brings in the report. And in this instance, is that good-looking man right there.
Listen, given the 2 weeks that I've had, I would answer to just about anything.
That's
right about
and so there you go.
So, on July 1st...
I don't feel like I won anything there. Councillor Tessier, do carry on.
Thank you. While I'm on my feet. On July 1st, we celebrated Canada Day at St. David's Field here in Mount Pearl. From 12 noon until 3 p.m., over 3,000 people came to the field to celebrate. And that's a staggering number. That's absolutely fabulous. I'm sure the weather had a lot to do with that. Families enjoyed face painting, bouncy castles, large interactive games, and a barbecue. There was Little Ray's Reptile Zoo was on hand. Did anything get lost or loose? I certainly hope not. An acrobatic performance and musical entertainment by Steve Collins and Pat Moran. Of course, it was enjoyed by everybody who attended, and we were really pleased to see such a great turnout. Unfortunately, I could not be there. Circumstances that were not in my control, but I heard from several people who were that it was just an outstanding event. So hats off to everybody who celebrated.
I had a piece too.
Oh,
You had two?
boy, that's not the case. The celebrations are going to continue in the city of Mount Pearl.
Hold on, Deputy Mayor apparently didn't get a big enough piece of cake.
That's why I had two. And they think it was all Tessier.
Oh, if it was Paula Tester, she would have got a big enough piece of cake. This summer, we're celebrating the 25th annual Mount Pearl City Days from July 19th to the 21st. So not this weekend coming, but the next. We've got some new events. We've got all kinds of entertainment and fun and celebrations, and we've got some new events as well. I'm going to give you just a brief rundown of some of the things we can look forward to. On Friday, July 19th, we're going to be having Tea Time, which is a new event. It's going to take place at Park Place from 2 until 4, and it's hosted in partnership with the Mount Pearl Seniors Independence Group and Kenny's Pond Retirement Community. Everybody loves an excuse for a cup of tea, and I'm definitely one of those people, so I'm sure we'll see lots of people there. In the evening, friends and neighbors and families are going to join everybody at St. David's for our annual pig roast and opening ceremonies. That is always such a popular event, and with good reason. So, of course, we're really looking forward to that. That's going to start at 6 o'clock.
I guess we're all carving again this year?
We're all carving again this year, I would anticipate. The big
Yes,
pieces at
yes,
the
some
end,
some of you will. I supervise.
You supervise, you don't carve?
No, I'm not allowed to carry sharp instruments anymore.
Goodness me today. Well, it's going to be something to look forward to. Of course,
The tendency to cut myself is
there's going to be some new activities there at this particular event this year. We're going to have games and fun for the children, tractor rides, balloon twisting, life-size board games, and other activities for the children. And then in the nighttime, there's going to be an outdoor movie. The movie that's going to be shown is called Wreck-It Ralph. Now, I haven't seen it, but I suspect if it's like any of the great kids movies that are out these days, it's going to be great fun for the whole family.
it will be.
Saturday, of course, is our Family Fun Day from 11 until 3 at Powers Pond Park. What a great location for this particular event. It's been up there now for the past several years, and it goes over so very well. At 11 o'clock, the milk cart and boat races are going to start at the boathouse. That's always a great time, and somebody, if not many people, are going to end up getting wet. The Best Decorated Bike Contest will occur. I think that's a new addition as well. Children under 12 are invited to bring their best decorated bike for a chance to win their weight in ice cream.
Wow.
You must be under 12. I will say it again. Be under 12 to win your weight in ice cream. It's not a bad deal, is it? That's right. The cake cutting will take place under the main party tent at 12:30, and of course we're going to have the Amazing Race scavenger hunt, face painting, a barbecue in support of the Girl Guides, hot hoops, hula hoopers, and Sonia Abbott is going to be there as well. At St. David's Field from 2 till 5, the Mount Pearl Show and Shine Car Show is going to take place. That's always a great event as well. You see the car enthusiasts, you see the people who take such pride in their antique and classic cars, and I think last year there were some motorcycles there as well. Not sure if we can look forward to that this year or not. It's always such a great, great time. And to end Saturday, they're having a family variety show at St. David's from 6:30 until 9 o'clock. This is also a new event. It's going to feature entertainment from Wonderbolt Circus, Two Ocean, and Rocket Ship, and this is going to be a night of family entertainment. And some of the brightest and upcoming musical talents is paired with a hilarious and entertaining clowning show. So it's going to be a great, great time. And that's, again, it's always nice to see some new and different initiatives for City Days because it certainly keeps everybody interested, keeps everybody showing up. Sunday, of course, is going to kick off another new event, the Prince and Princess Pancake Breakfast from 8:30 until 10. So everybody's invited to brush up their tiaras and their crowns and dress up and come out for a pancake breakfast. There's going to be a nail and tattoo studio and the opportunity to visit with your favorite princess. So I'm assuming there's going to be some well-known princesses there as well that, of course, will delight some of our younger residents. It's going to come at a cost of $2 for children and $5 for adults, so that's certainly not an onerous cost for sure for that event. And of course, the final event for the weekend is the Mega Birthday Blitz concert at St. David's. We have a great lineup again this year. It starts in the afternoon and carries on into the evening. We've got entertainment from the Blue Liners, the Replacements, Ignition, say it now, Shokana, Redline, Sean Vashon, the Superstars, the Punters, the Masterless Men, and the headliners, the Once. All the Once are so good. They're all good. It's going to be fabulous. There's going to be concessions and games of chance and lots of fun as well. So as you can see, an awful lot of effort has gone into this by the City Days committee, by the staff. There's a lot of volunteers that have been working on this for quite some time. It's going to be an outstanding weekend, and we know we're going to see a lot of people there. The weather sometimes agrees, sometimes it doesn't, but we're a hardy crowd. What's that? This time it will, but we're a hardy crowd. It's going to be an absolutely outstanding event. We want to extend our appreciation to everybody who had a hand in any kind of organization of City Days again this year. And finally, Your Worship, just an update on our summer day camps. The Scamper Camp at Kenmount Park Community Center, Rambler Camp is at Newtown Elementary, and Discovery Camp is at the Reed Center. They're all up and running with over 230 participants on a weekly basis. We're proud of the program, and the goal is to provide participants with a safe and enjoyable recreational experience. Of course, we want to encourage anybody who is dropping children off at the Reed Center to be extra cautious because of the construction that's happening with the Pearl Gate Recreational Multiplex project. And that is it from Community Services.
Thank you very much, Councillor Tessier. Next committee report is Corporate Services, Deputy Mayor Locke.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just thinking about the decorated bike contest, and I'm a little disappointed that it's only for people under the age of 12, because I love my bike. And I was just thinking, perhaps as a little giveaway, we could distribute some of our little new bike belts. We've got some lovely new bike belts with the city logo on it as a part of our safety measures to enhance the trails.
I haven't seen the belts.
You don't have one on your bike, do you?
Don't have one on my bike.
Actually, you know what? That'd be a nice participant prize.
That's what I was thinking.
Participates.
Yeah, so that's
Give
the
them a
plan.
bell.
So.
Make
And
it
I
up.
want to welcome back Councillor Tessier. Good to see you back. I'm glad to hear that things are on the up for you guys. All right, Your Worship, I have two quick items here today. The first has to do with tax deferrals for low-income earners. We're recommending approval that the following tax deferrals be approved. One amount is $4,802.86. The second is $1,160.44. This, of course, is in accordance with our policy for low-income earners, and I so move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Locke, seconded by Councillor Aker. Question or comment? All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
The next one, Your Worship, are the invoices for council approval. We have 9 outlined here today, totaling $1,627,229.39, and I move that the amount be accepted as presented.
Moved, seconded. Question or comment on any? Listed 1 to 9. All in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
And that is it from me, Your Worship.
Engineering Services, Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. First item on our agenda this evening is our usual update on the multiplex project. The project is currently 57% complete financially, and we're still, of course, on schedule and on budget for completion in summer of 2014. The steel work is 90% complete, and in the middle of the month of July, these large mechanical units, which form the basis of the ventilation system for the entire building, are going to be lifted and installed into the building. Just to give you an idea as to how large these units are, the last roof truss had to be left off in order to be able to fit these into the building and complete the installation correctly. So these are some pretty large machines that we're having installed, and as I say, these are going to be the basis of the ventilation system for the entire building. So it certainly represents a good milestone in the project itself. Things continue to go well.
Can I ask a question here, Your Worship?
Go right ahead.
Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I
Councillor
thought we
Ledwell.
were going to do that at the end of reports, but okay.
It just
It's on
came
your
to mind
mind.
about the swimming pool, as I spoke to a couple of residents, and they were asking about the glulam, Mr. Entle's wonderful beams up there,
Yeah.
and why the choice was to go with wood. They asked a question about the humidity, the chlorine, and damage to the trusses. So it just came to mind when Councillor Ledwell was saying that. And,
What doesn't rust?
you know, is that the big thing, the rust factor? Because that's what I told them.
There's many different interiors for a pool that you can use for construction. It's not uncommon to have wood. Wood can be treated properly. Oftentimes, actually, in a chlorine kind of environment, and this pool won't have chlorine in the sense of what we've normally seen as an injection of chlorine. It's a different type of salt water type of system that actually creates a chlorine circumstance in the pool, and it creates an environment essentially that's sometimes reacts with steel. So sometimes the better product to use is a wood product. The wood product that we've chosen here is also very aesthetic. It gives warmth and comfort to the interior of the pool. So it's a selection that was deliberated and thought about. It's not uncommon to have wood inside of a pool circumstance.
Well, this is also going to be,
Aquarian
Yeah.
actually has wooden.
yeah, this is also going to be quite an architectural feature that will be visible throughout the pool upon its completion. So, yeah. All right, sorry, carry on.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The second item on our agenda this evening has to do with our line painting in the city of Mount Pearl, which of course continues. We do have a change order to bring into our line painting contract this evening. Of course, our contract is with Claraway Contracting Limited. The The change order represents a change in the contract price. It's increasing by $45,190.96, as you see there in the package. And the general gist of the reason for the change is that we're going to be doing the line painting on the parking lots at our city facilities. It's been 2 to 3 years since these have been done. Some of them are certainly in need of being painted, both for safety issues and in organization in terms of traffic. So at this point, while you try to be judicial with the use of funds for projects like this, we felt at engineering that it was appropriate to do the parking lots at this time, and for this reason we're bringing in the change order. And I would like to move that we adopt the change order and increase the contract price at the quoted amount of $45,190.96, and I so move.
Moved by Councillor Ledwell, seconded by Councillor Stoyles. Question or comment? All those in favour? Contrary minded, motion carried.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just an addition to the line painting piece, of course it continues. You'll see that we're getting towards the end of the project now. Our crosswalks are being painted. You will see in certain areas, though, that we haven't exactly completed the entire painting of the lines and markings on the road, and that's to do with the fact that we're, of course, continuing with our testing of the thermoplastic line painting that we began last year with the intersection of Old Placentia Road and Smallwood Drive. This year we're looking at trying it around the intersection of Old Placentia Road and Richard Nolan Drive, and as well at the intersection of Ruth Avenue and Old Placentia Road, where you'll notice that the crosswalk markings are not completed at this point, but we're looking at maybe trying those with the thermoplastics as well. So residents are going to see some more of that testing happen. That's the reason why the painting is not currently completed in those areas, but you'll soon see that happening as we continue with the testing.
Okay, thank you.
Our third item that we have on our agenda this evening has to do with the request for proposals for the Donovan's Business Park, revitalization that Council has committed to in Budget 2013. You'll see that this is the RFP, the request for proposals for the primary consultant services. These are the people that are going to, come up with the revitalization plan, if you will, and work with us on that. The RFP is currently being advertised in the Telegram. It was advertised in the June 29th edition, and as well it's being advertised on the city website. The closing date for the RFP is July 16th at 2 p.m., and copies are available at the city depot as well as on the website itself. And the following item that we have is a tender. It's for cleaning of city-owned buildings. As you can see, we have 3 bids that have been received. There was one bidder that did not meet all of the specifications of the project. So we're recommending that we award the project to Kellaway Construction at an amount of $197,351.50, and I so move.
Second.
Moved, seconded. Questions or comments? Councillor Stoyles.
Just wanted to comment on the low bidder that didn't meet the regulations. I understand it was more of certification, right? They didn't have the right certification. Is that the case? Because, I just wanted to comment, have the director comment on that.
Mr. Randall.
This has a long time.
This has to do with there's a standard applied in our tenders that sets a safety standard for contractors, and they have to be able to be receipt of a letter of good standing from the Newfoundland Labrador Construction Safety Association.
That's the core standard, isn't it?
It's the Certificate of Recognition Program.
Yeah.
There's a letter of good standing from the Construction Safety Association, and the lowest bidder could not provide that letter. So they're not in compliance.
Yeah, I think it's not that they're not a good reputable company, it's just that they didn't apply for that standard is basically all this. It's like having some certification, and we need that certification here. I just wanted to comment on that.
Yep. Councillor Raker.
But as I understand how these things work, if we put that in our tender spec, this is a fairly major term. It wouldn't be considered minor. So as soon as that bid comes in, if it doesn't matter about the price, you look at basically where the requirements met first.
Yes.
And basically this lowest bidder wasn't allowed their foot in the door, essentially. So even though it's in the list, as the report says, we're awarding this today to the lowest qualified bid.
Yes.
It's nothing to do with the bidder, it's the bid, right?
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
to the point I think that Councillor Stoyles makes, though, and maybe it's something that we should look at ourselves, is we are in a public environment here. And so we have put a list, we have put a name of a company who is, as Councillor Stoyle says, a company in good standing, who does good work, they're fine people. And whether we like it or not, we leave an impression, right? Inadvertently or otherwise. It's kind of like the unintended consequence of our action. So I would go to the engineering committee and say, would you take a look at how we go about reporting this stuff when we've gone through a tender or an RFP process, whatever it is? Should we not consider that only those who actually qualified to bid are the ones that actually end up on the public record? I don't know whether we would even be allowed to do that or not, but I'm hoping, Councillor Stoles, that's the gist of the argument you're making, is it not?
I even asked at the committee meeting, wondering how long would it take for them to get this certification. I said, because it's not I just said, could we go back to them, because they were the lowest bidder, and say, can you get certified? And according to the
No, we'd be in a pretty serious violation of the rules.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think we could have done that, but I was wondering if, I didn't know how long it would take for certification, but according to Mr. Anton,
takes some time.
It takes a year or longer probably to get the certification,
Yeah.
and would be even allowed to do it. It was just a question, I guess.
No, it's a fair question. It's a fair question, yeah.
Asking, could they,
But
could they meet the qualifications?
You couldn't after the bid.
Not after the bid.
After the bid is done and the tender closes and
tender
it's
closed.
opened, you can't then go back and say, we're gonna try and rewrite it,
Yeah.
because you'd have to go back and say, every other cleaning company that didn't have this certification who wished to bid can now bid, because we couldn't ever do that. But I do think that we could look at a situation where you leave the impression, rightly or wrongly, that somehow this company didn't meet the standard. So if they can't meet the standard for whatever reason, do they even need to be on the public list? That's, I see, Mr. Silver, Director Silver, you have.
I'm not 100% certain, so we'll certainly go back and have a look, but I believe it's a requirement of the Public Tendering Act.
That no matter who puts a bid in?
It comes down to that once they submit the bid. I mean, even the tender opening process, for example, is a public process, whereby anybody is welcome to be present throughout that process and see what the bid amounts are.
Yeah,
who's present.
yeah. I see your point. But I have an appreciation for what Councillor Stoyles is arguing here. Is all. Councillor Aker, you wanted to comment? You said you're all done with that. I'm sorry. Carry on with your committee report. I apologize, Councillor Ledwell.
No problem, Your Worship. Just to wrap up, actually, we're just about finished, but we'll certainly take that issue back to committee and have a discussion at our meeting, just to see what it is that we can do in terms of, satisfactorily reporting these tenders, and hopefully we'll get back to council at a later date with some answers.
In the meantime, I guess we should call the motion here.
We should.
And that is to award the contract for the cleaning of buildings to Kellaway Construction Limited at a cost of $197,351.50. It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, contrary-minded, motion is carried. That concludes the engineering report. We are off to new business, and this week, I've made a list. Okay, I've made a list because I like to mix it up. Councillor Walsh, you're first up.
Oh my God.
Who was going first?
I thought you had the list. I figured you were going first. That was
Thank you. And I said at some
I
point
don't
I was
ever
gonna
get to
do
go
it, but-
first because of where I sit. Obviously, you start on that end, you start by. So this
See
is
what I'm
good.
doing
I like
here?
it. I like it. I'm with you.
2 weeks ago, by the way, Councillor Tessier went first. Just want you to know.
Did she? Good.
Yes.
I didn't notice that, but that's good.
Every council meeting.
I want to mention something, Your Worship, that's been in the media the last couple of weeks, and that's related to the overcapacity situation at St. Peter's Elementary School.
Yeah.
Despite what we think and what we sometimes say, we actually do have a role to play in this.
Yes, we do.
And I just want to comment on that briefly. Basically, we sometimes dismiss these kinds of things related to the school system as provincial responsibility. That's within the authority of the province, the Department of Education, or the school district, which it is primarily. On this particular issue, because of some of the concerns that were raised by parents in the public meeting, they did refer the matter to St. John's Regional Fire Department, and I've been in touch with the director, Mike Dwyer. They actually have a meeting scheduled with staff at the Eastern School District to try to ensure that the information that they need at first is, first of all, accurate, and that the data that they have is correct. Then their plan is to go in and do a building inspection. Now, they will do an inspection of all various parts of the building in totality in terms of the number of students and teachers, employees, etc., that can be accommodated in the building. But they also do inspections, as you can appreciate, of different rooms, capacities for rooms. For example, the gymnasium will be inspected for accommodation of the student body and teachers with either fixed seating or with tables and chairs, different things of that nature. So, one of the questions could be, does the gymnasium even have this adequate space to accommodate, the full student body, which it probably doesn't based on the numbers that we're hearing. One of the other things that he mentioned, this is where we as a municipal authority come into play here. One of the things he mentioned, of course, is that the fire department is not into enforcement or compliance. What they are into, of course, is doing the inspection related to fire and life safety. There is a code that's established for schools that they'll follow, and that's a code that's established right across the country. They'll visit things such as the washrooms, both male and female washrooms, and they'll establish whether or not they have adequate washroom facilities, stalls, urinals, all of those kinds of things for the number of users that would be in the building at a particular point in time. That's where their responsibility ends. They will then take that information and refer that to our inspectors, to our staff here at the City of Mount Pearl, and they will expect our staff then to inspect the facilities, to ensure that there is compliance, and of course our enforcement people will also be expected to be involved to ensure that there is an enforcement of the regulations and that the school is in compliance. Now, I'm not suggesting that there are problems, that they're not in compliance. I'm just laying out the process in the event that there might be issues of life safety or capacity in that building. So, and I'm not delving into a political debate on the merits or demerits of having a school assigned or allocating students to schools or buildings or anything of that nature. But I did want to make one other comment. And I guess it's somewhat political, and it can't be avoided. The mayor of the City of St. John's in the paper today is, I guess, making some statements in an effort to try to propel his argument, I guess, or support his argument for a school in the Southlands area or another school in St. John's. Same as, by the way, the town of Paradise have been advocating for quite a number of years. And today I was in touch with people at the Eastern School District to get the correct information, because the information that the mayor of St. John's was providing was not accurate. He was suggesting that, in fact was saying, I think on the VOCM website today, that St. John's is probably very largely responsible for the overcrowding at St. Peter's, because they represent 65 to 70% of the students at that elementary school. Well, a couple of facts. They represent actually less than 50% of the population. And in the other elementary feeder system, which is Morris Academy, that's 100% Mount Pearl. And Paradise are not feeding in the elementary because they have two elementary schools in Paradise. They come into Mount Pearl Intermediate, as Deputy Mayor Locke knows, for junior high school and high school, but not for the elementary school programs. So the correct numbers are 50% in St. Peter's are Mount Pearl residents, 100% of the Morris Academy feeders are Mount Pearl residents, 48% come from the combination of Southlands and Brookfield Plains, and 2% from other areas. Now, there are some moves being made, I think, by the district to reallocate some French immersion programs and try to relieve some of the numbers at St. Peter's. But, one of the points that I want to make here is that this is a pretty serious problem, and this is not the kind of a problem that you want to be making political hay over or developing a platform for a municipal election. This is an issue that we're addressing here in Mount Pearl. Yes, we are happy to accommodate students in the junior high school and high school from Paradise and from the City of St. John's, but this is really not an argument that can really have a strong foundation for the building of a school, at least not yet. As Southlands continues to grow, or Paradise continues to grow, school systems will grow with them. They go where the population areas are. But we all know that, having dealt with the Paradise situation for quite a number of years, the school districts and the Department of Education don't build schools along the lines of municipal boundaries. They just don't follow that format at all. Otherwise, instead of reducing and closing schools in many of the rural areas, that actually building more and smaller buildings, that just doesn't make sense, and it's not how it works. You can't have an undercapacity in new buildings or relatively new buildings in Mount Pearl, and then provide a reasonable rationale for building new buildings elsewhere where they would also be under capacity. So I just wanted to comment on that, sort of set the record straight. While we, always are happy to accept the fact that some others may be contributing to a problem, the truth is it's not at the rate of 65 or 70% occupancy. They do represent, from Brookfield Plains and Southlands, 48% of that school. Just wanted to set the record straight on that issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I did have a request, Councillor Walsh, from the Mayor of St. John's, giving me, I suppose you'd call it a heads up, that he intended to bring this matter forward yesterday. I didn't get back to him to talk about that at all yesterday. I have had a number of representations, though, from parents who actually have children at St. Peter's Elementary, and I've forwarded those off to members of staff and copies, I think, to council, where I have responded to what I feel are the jurisdictional limitations of what we as a council can deal with. And these would be, as you've said, life safety, fire code, the reality of you can't have too many people in a building. It doesn't matter what age they are, what size they are, what the building is. And we have to do due diligence and be responsible for that inside of our municipality. But the overlay of what constitutes school jurisdiction, school board jurisdiction, is so totally ultra vires to us. It's so totally outside our authority. We really can't comment on it at all. But we are entering the silly season. I think we're all aware of that. And we have any number of people who are now engaged in that process of the electoral process, seeking platform. We may be witnessing that in this context as it relates to the school board. I just want parents, be they from St. John's, Paradise, and though I know in that particular instance there's not, unless it's a unique and rare kind of specialized circumstance, and in particular Mount Pearl, to all be assured that the city of Mount Pearl both understands its role and responsibility, that the codes and requirements will be enforced by the city of Mount Pearl to make sure that our buildings, whatever they are not overcrowded, and that the rules will be enforced. We understand that protection of life and property is a role that we play. Whether or not we have French immersion at St. Peter's versus French immersion at Newtown Elementary is not an area of jurisdiction that we can delve into. And it's as simple as that. Whether or not the school board builds another school anywhere, not for us to say. I think that's a valid point. Thank you for that. I had my list. Councillor Walsh, where was I going next? Councillor Walsh, Councillor Ledwell.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll be very brief. Just a couple of mentions of a couple of events that were happening this past weekend. First of all, the Pearlgate Track and Field, and of course the local branch of the Royal Canadian Legion hosted on Saturday the Provincial Legion Track and Field competition. I was lucky enough to be able to attend and present some medals. Some very fine athletes there. I just want to congratulate all the athletes that participated, and I know they selected 17 athletes from the region to attend the National Track and Field Championship. So certainly a great event. I want to congratulate the Pearlgate Track and Field Club, and as well as the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 36 here in Mount Pearl for putting off such a great event. As well, I just want to make mention of the Youth Action Team who held their Cafe Fest event on Saturday past. It was a beautiful day, and I think the weather kind of, in an odd way, played a part in the low turnout, if you will. I think it was such a nice day and a hot day that everybody was off at their cabins or doing whatever it is they do on nice summer weekends. But it certainly was a nice event. Despite the low turnout, I want to congratulate the Youth Action Team for continuing to be active in the city and thank them for all the work that they do to keep our young people engaged. Finally, I just want to mention, Councillor Tessier spoke at length earlier about our City Days coming up in Mount Pearl in a couple of weeks. As well that weekend, of course, the Provincial Special Olympics Summer Games are happening. And as always, Special Olympics Mount Pearl is heavily involved with a number of athletes, volunteers involved in organization. So that's a big thing that's happening. I know that members of council will likely be at all of the venues and presenting medals and the like. So I just want to encourage the public to get out, head up to the track and field, go to the swimming pool, see some of these events, because at this Special Olympic Summer Games you're really going to see some real courage and some real athletic talent on display, and you're going to have a lot of fun as well. Real sportsmanship, absolutely. I would argue that there is there's not much better sportsmanship than you'll see at the Special Olympic Summer Games. So I'd invite everybody to come out and check it out. It's certainly going to be well worth it.
Wasn't somebody going to put together a list for us, Councillor Ledwell, of who was going to be available to go and present some medals and awards they wanted? I know I got. Okay, so has that come out yet? Because I think most of us.
We responded.
That whoever's available, we would, but we kind of need to get that organized, don't we?
Well, more so because City Days is how we go.
Yes.
So we need to find out where and when we can actually do something. So somebody needs to talk to Claire. That's all I'm saying.
I have a list.
Okay, you have a list. Good. Councillor Stoyles.
Thank you, Your Worship. Number of things actually today. At the last meeting, of course, we mentioned a number of people in the city that had passed away, and I have another list again today, unfortunately. Sharon Cobb's dad passed away, Henry Bishop, and they were long-time residents of Mount Pearl, and I wanted to mention Mary Kelly, wife of Bren Kelly. Bren passed away a couple of years ago, and Mary passed away. She was buried last Saturday. Judy Cochran, another resident of Mount Pearl, a former nurse, and good
It's David Cochran's mom, by the way.
Yes, it is, yeah. And last but not least, Neil Gillespie, a neighbour of mine on the street, and lived there for over 40 years, and wanted to pass along my sympathies to the family and have the city send off something. You know, a lot of people in our city. I guess we're at an age now that, and of course sickness and whatever. Also, Your Worship, on a brighter note, my understanding from reading a couple of tweets, the deal at the airport is done.
Yep.
And according to Ryan Cleary and a number of tweeters I've seen, that the deal is done. And
Strike is over.
And the strike is over because they have a tentative deal, so which is great.
Flying in the morning.
I wanted to say a big thank you to the staff again. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned about Mount Carson Avenue, about the construction debris and everything, and I spoke to a gentleman up there, and our staff was up and has it all cleaned up, which is good. And of course, the big storm in Toronto today is all over the news. And, I mean, there's a lot of disasters happening everywhere by the looks of it. And the last thing I want to mention, Your Worship, is an issue that I've received at least 4 or 5 calls about the past couple of weeks, and is roaming cats. And what I want us to do, more so tonight than discuss it, because there's a major problem, and I think the biggest concern I'm getting from people is we do loan cages out to residents, and they will have the cages dropped off at 8:30 in the morning, but our staff goes back and picks those cages up at 4 o'clock. And the lady said to me, she said, it's a waste of time. I'm not even going to get the cage anymore. I know I've been told, well, go out and buy your own, but she said a cage is over $200, when she checked, or over $100, and because we don't want the cages left out overnight, and I'm just wondering if maybe we could look at the policy and put some kind of a policy in place that if we give a resident a cage and they keep it overnight, that they're responsible for checking it and going back and forth, and even if they agreed not to put it out, bring it in 10 o'clock at night and put it back out at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning if they were willing to get up. Because if we put it out from 9 to 5, 9 to 4, I mean, and in nighttime it's cool, and animals are in cages anyway overnight. I'm just wondering, if it's something we can look at. I don't know if it's, the policies and cruelty to animals and all that stuff, but I know we have a lot of people that love their gardens, and they put a lot of money into it, and they spend a lot of money on mulch, and even that's not working. And they were saying to me, I can't believe the city can't do anything and can't loan me a cage, that I can't get up 6 o'clock in the morning and put the cage out, and because that's what I want to do. And anyway, I want to bring it back to committee and see if it's something we can do with it. That's it for me, Your Worship.
Table it with the, I guess that's Community Services Committee, or it goes to Public Works as well, does it?
Public Works, I guess.
Is that right? Yeah, it would seem to me that a cage should be lent on at least a 24-hour basis, and I'm not sure why you couldn't use it. Anyway, it'll go back. It's referred to the committee. Thank you very much. Where am I on my list? Deputy Mayor Locke.
Much has been touched on, Your Worship. The track and field I was going to mention, I think Councillor led about 7 Mount Pearl athletes made that team of 17, and they're off to Burnaby, British Columbia for the meet, so that's great. Speaking with Carol Ann Kellaway, she made the mention, of course, her son is doing well. They're off to Quebec. She won a car last week, and so good for her. Yeah. So she said she took the cash towards her children's tuition and to go to the meet in Quebec. So good for her. So good to the athletes of the track and field. I also wanted to extend condolences to the Gillespie family. Neil, my wife, worked with Neil for many years, and true gentleman. And just want to send out sympathies to the Gillespie family. I wasn't here at the last meeting, Your Worship, and I don't know if it was raised, so I apologise if it was, about the graduation ceremonies that were held for the high school, senior high, at the Glacier. Did we comment on that last meeting? Do we remember? I've been saying this for years, and I think it may happen now when our new Recplex gets completed. But the response that I received from the students and the parents about hosting it up at the Glacier, again, has been overwhelmingly positive. It was a beautiful day. They had their meet and greet out front. It's very spacious in the Glacier. And again, I want to send out a special thanks to the staff at the Glacier, because they always go above and beyond to get the place decorated. It looks wonderful. Councillor Tessier was involved this year. Councillor Aker was there as well. So it was a beautiful design in that. But also the Safe Grad afterwards in our Recplex. I want to push, again, I said it before, and maybe we'll bring it back to economic development. I'd like to see the City of Mount Pearl have a graduation weekend, if we get the other high school on board. And that entire weekend could be for both schools graduating, split the cost, split the time for decorating. And I think it may be a sell when we get our new aquatic centre and stuff like that. It will be the place to have a safe grad. So again, hats off to all the volunteers who made that a very memorable event for the students. That's it for me, Your Worship. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Locke. Councillor Aker.
Everything on my list has been crossed off, and I want to thank everybody for doing that. I just want to pass on a little personal note. It'll make the meeting go a little bit faster. Councillor Tessier, you've been through a hard time the last couple of weeks. Welcome back into the routine, and just hope that Sam is not only feeling better, but gets better sooner rather than later. And our thoughts go up to you and your family.
How am I supposed to talk after that?
Councillor Tessier, it is your turn. It is your turn.
I appreciate that. I appreciate actually everybody stepping up. I know that for the last couple of weeks I've essentially disappeared, and that's because I've been sitting in a room on 4 North B at the Health Sciences Center next to my child, who had a very, very serious accident on his bike. But he is in one piece and an organ and 3/4 lighter.
And you're even enjoying the weeds, which is good.
Oh, I'm enjoying the weeds.
Oh, weeds. I said weeds. I didn't see the S. I said weeds.
Flowers. How about that? Wildflowers. I think.
Boy, that's all we need in the news now.
Sometimes it takes something very, very serious and potentially tragic to put perspective in life. And I think that it's a harsh reminder, but anyway, we're on the other end of it now. So I thank everybody for your support and for your patience with me while that was happening. Also, I just have one very small thing. We talked about bulk garbage earlier. If a resident misses their bulk garbage collection, it's very important that they either contact Public Works to make arrangements to have it picked up at their cost, or they take it in. Bulk garbage, this is a reminder because I'm seeing a little bit of it this time. If you've missed your bulk garbage collection, you have to take your bulk garbage back in. You can't just leave it out on your lawn indefinitely, because it will not be picked up by our regular garbage operators. So that's it for me. It's just a reminder for people to take your bulk garbage in if you've missed it. If you're not sure what the schedule is, it's on our website. You can certainly make a call to the Public Works Department as well to determine what it is if you don't know or if you don't have access to a computer. But again, it just doesn't, it's pretty unsightly in a neighborhood if you're driving down and there's bulk garbage that's been left out there literally for 2 weeks at a time. it does need to be taken back in, or arrangements need to be made to have it picked up.
Thank you very much. Pretty well everything that I had to say has been said. I think that's what happens when you end up going last, right?
Well, you made the list.
All the time, and I made the list, but next week it'll be different. Right? That's usually how it works on occasion. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first, that sort of thing. With that, I am now going to entertain a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Ledwell. We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
And Randy Travis is not good. Who? Randy Travis.